Hey.
Hello?
Hi, at
Hi.
work. Well, hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
It's so nice to finally talk and see you in person or like as close to in person as we can get when we live across country. But thanks so much for being willing to tell your story.
Yeah, I'm excited. When I first saw what you were doing, I was like, this is really awesome and important because which is part of the reason why like I've been sharing, I wanted to be able to connect with people that did it. So it was like a firsthand account.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how I felt when I froze the first time way back in 2015. And nobody even was talking about this. Like everyone was hush hush.
Yeah, I know. And so I actually, when I mentioned it on Instagram, a bunch of people kind of reached out to me saying they wanted more information. And a couple people said, I'm really thinking about it. Or um, like one or two people actually said, I'm doing it right now. And like my own friends, like people in their real life didn't even know because they were kind of keeping it hush hush.
Yeah.
And wanted to like connect with someone. So I was like, I think that the more we talk about it, the better.
Right. It's awesome. Well, let's start by just telling everybody who you are because some may not already know you or your amazing blog and network you've already built.
Yeah, so my name is Monica Olivas, and I am in Southern California, born and raised. I started a website called Run, Eat, Repeat, probably like 10 years ago now, really just for fun.
Yeah.
And it grew a ton, and now I have a big community online and social media of people that are kind of who love running and or eating. All
Yeah.
are welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. I love both. I don't love running as much, but I definitely love food. Yeah. So, when did you first freeze your eggs and how did you learn about it?
You know what's funny? I don't remember how I first learned about it. I did it just like it's going to be 3 or 4 weeks ago right now. Like it's fairly recent.
Yeah.
I had been thinking about it for well over a year.
Right.
And really struggling with whether or not I should. I couldn't decide. And
What were you
it was
struggling with?
really weighing on me.
What were you struggling with? Like what part of the
Um,
decision-making
if
process?
yeah, it was if it was necessary, um, and kind of like I don't want to say a waste of money, but I was afraid that it's so expensive, and it is a medical procedure. Do I really need to do this? My mom, I have a little brother that's like 17 years younger than me, 16, 17 years. So my
Wow.
mom had a baby. Yeah, right? Like a surprise baby later in life. So with that, that was kind of in my head like, well, there's that. So I think I'm okay. Like, it's not like my mom had a bunch of problems, but we're not all the same. It just like I kept really going back and forth with, do I need to do this? I think I'm pretty healthy. And obviously, it seems like my family history is okay. But like, if there's that chance that I have the opportunity and I don't do it, am I going to regret this later? So that was a big struggle for me that I mean, it was well over a year that I kept going back and forth. And I never officially said, no, I'm not going to do it, or yes, I'm going to do it. And so though, I feel like it was just kind of looming over me. And I kind of decided finally, like it was building up and building up. And then I feel like when I did decide, it was very just like, I'm going to do it. And I feel like once I made that decision, it all seemed to happen so fast.
Yeah. Well, or it could happen really slow because of the processes, like getting all your paperwork in and all your doctor's office stuff and your PAP and your STI testing, stuff like that too. Sometimes, and then getting into fertility clinics, sometimes there's long waits. So not
Yeah,
everybody.
I was lucky in that I knew if I did it, who I was going to go with because I had already went to 2 consultations, and one of them I really liked. They had like an info session, and I feel like they were really thorough. So I knew once I decided to go for it, I knew like who to call.
Yeah, you felt comfortable. Well, that helps tremendously. Like that's a big step in the process. Did you ever get an AMH level tested during this year of debating? Which, by the way, I will just add, that is the average time frame of making this decision, that women often contemplate it for over a year before choosing to actually do it. And to make you feel better, even better about your choice, I have yet to hear a single woman, and I've interviewed over 100 different women about that have frozen or did fertility treatments, and there's not a single one of them that wishes they didn't do it. So
yeah, and that's what I kind of thought. I thought, I don't think I'm gonna regret it, like if I do it, you know. So that's kind of partially what pushed me over. It does make me feel better that most people take a long time, because I really felt like, I can't decide. And so I felt frozen, ironically. And then I was like, I don't know what to do. I did do an AMH. I think it looked pretty good.
Okay.
At the
how
time.
old are you
like
again?
It wasn't. I'm 34.
34. Okay. Perfect. Great age.
Yeah. So it was, I think it looked good for my age, right? Because that's how they compare it, kind of thing. Yeah. So that didn't, and which is like almost worse, is there was like all of these things that were like, no, you're okay. Like, I think, and I was just like, but if there's that possibility that I'm not, this is such a big thing. Right. You know, this is such a big regret. So it was, that didn't really help me much feel better, because it was still something that I thought, there was a part of me that thought, you need to do this still. That's not enough insurance.
And I think we don't think about, okay, we're in great health today, but we could learn we have cancer tomorrow. And then we have to make this rush choice where you would have already had a bank of eggs and could have done another round and increased your odds. You know what I'm saying? Or, and I'm not saying that everyone's going to get cancer and we should be fearful of cancer, but you know, you may get in a car accident or something could happen to your medical health. We're not guaranteed good medical health just because today we're healthy. And so any of those factors could come into play. And so I always say to make the choice regardless of your relationship status and regardless of your current health choice. But it doesn't mean that you have to do it tomorrow. It could mean that, okay, if you have a great AMH, now you have a year to save up or plan or get your body ready, take supplements and vitamins for, you know, before you start your cycle, exercise really well, like what you do on a regular basis, you know, keep up a good health routine, quit smoking, all those key factors like that impact our fertility, and we don't ever think about it.
Yeah, it's so true. You don't think about it oftentimes until it's an issue. So, yeah.
Right. So when you went through the process and you finally decided, okay, I'm going to freeze my eggs, did you have a hard time with like not working out since you are such a big runner during the process? The stimulation, was that an issue?
Yes, it was. I felt like very antsy, and it's almost like this bad thing in that I feel like my doctor was pretty cool with me continuing to exercise until it was potentially like a safety concern. But the problem is that I run like full marathons, and some of the runs, 26.2 miles, like you have worked yourself past the point of being uncomfortable. And their gauge at first was, your body will tell you when you need to stop. And I'm like, when you run 26.2 miles, your body tells you when you need to stop, and you're like, override, you know, like you have to just be like, nope, I can still go. So it was a challenge. Like I literally told them, like, cause I was like, no, you have to tell me when I can't run, because I have trained myself, like, and they say, you know, with running marathons, it's more mental than physical. Like your mind shuts down before your body does. Totally. So I like have the ability to be like, it's not that bad, like being uncomfortable, being slightly in pain is not that bad. Like
You have
I
a
probably have
different
like a higher
tolerance
tolerance.
level. Yeah, you have a completely different tolerance level than like the
Yeah.
average human that doesn't run marathons on a monthly basis,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. So that was hard. But at the same time, like, and normally with runners too, we always joke that, there's like a meme of someone in a full body cast and it's like, oh, I could probably get in a couple miles. Like you always are trying to push it. So normally I think I would push it, but because the realities of potentially having some sort of,
Ovarian torsion or any
yes.
kind of hyperstimulation.
Yeah. And they were like, that could be like emergency surgery, or you could really like mess yourself up, so then you can't have kids naturally anyway. Like it was just like I respected the importance of it, and so I was able to walk and stuff, and I think it really wasn't that long.
Yeah. It's 10,
in the
14
grand
days.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you slow down your activity entirely, or did you not run? Did you only walk? Like, what kind of exercise did you end up doing, since you didn't know where your threshold was?
I probably walked for about 2 weeks only. So I didn't run. I did some strength training, but I didn't do any running. Probably like 5 days into the shots, or I stopped running, and then probably for almost a week, not a full week, after the retrieval. So for that entire time, I was just walking. I wasn't running.
Okay. Yeah. Like, how many miles are you averaging running on a typical week?
Like 40 to 50.
A week
So,
or a day?
yeah, a week.
A week. Okay.
A week.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're dividing
And
that
I
up.
take rest days.
Okay.
Yeah, I take
Okay.
rest days. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, that's a lot of running. Way more than I do. But okay. So, did you have any challenges? Like, so you knew who your doctor was. You knew that you were going to do this. How did the time schedule work out? What time of year did you freeze? So it was almost winter, springtime, right?
Yeah.
And did you have any problems getting your meds or hormones, or what was that like?
No, everything seemed pretty easy. Like I think I was really lucky on that, in doing all the blood work, in getting the medication. Yeah, everything ready to go. I have hypothyroidism.
Oh.
And so I was already, I check fairly regularly to make sure that I'm okay with that. So there wasn't, I was already, like, that goes back years kind of thing. So that was already regulated. So I didn't have anything else that I needed to, fix or take care of before starting the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And how did you feel on the hormones? Did you feel like yourself? Did you feel more vulnerable? Did you feel more sappy? What happened?
I think I felt fairly fine. I do think that there was one point where I felt more emotional. Like I remember being in the grocery store and like feeling overly emotional about something. Like I was just thinking about something. I think I just got off the phone with someone and I thought I was like about to cry. And I'm like, am I going to cry in the grocery store right now? But it wasn't significantly worse than if I have just like an emotional PMS week kind of thing,
Yeah.
Like, so there was this like small amount. I was like ready because I had heard that you can like really be like up or down. Like you could be super cry or like super just like angry. So I wasn't sure what to expect. And I think because I was kind of like keeping an eye out for it, I'm like, no, like I didn't really recognize anything significant during the shots. When I was done with the process, I was a lot more emotional. The week after, I felt like when the doctor called me and told me how many eggs I got, I cried. I think it was like a relief, like a stress relief,
Yeah.
Just like, it was like happy cry. Just like, oh, I'm so glad this is over. I'm so glad like and really like, did I just do this? This is crazy. So I feel like the following week, not being on the hormones anymore, my body probably trying to get back to like a normal place. I was emotional that week a lot.
So how many eggs did you get?
19.
Well, that's great.
So we froze 19. I think we got a little over 20, and then 19 were
egg
viable.
math.
Yeah.
Right. Not everyone freezes. Not every
Yeah.
egg freezes. Yeah. How was the first shot for you? Did you do it alone? Did you do it with a friend? Did you have someone else going through the cycle with you, or were you by yourself? Did you have a friend come over? A significant other?
I went to a friend's house. I don't know anyone in my like real life that has done this.
Oh. Well, now you
so
know
I
me.
had it. Right? Yeah. And this is like the whole thing, that it's so awesome to connect with people that have done it, because it is a lonely thing.
Yeah.
You know, like it's lonely and it's
Are you in a relationship, or are you single?
I'm single, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I was single when I did it all of my times too, and it is very lonely. Like, even just having like, who's gonna pick you up when you have the retrievals? Like, who's available?
Yeah.
Who could be on call?
Yeah, and I think the paperwork too. The paperwork is still, I think, very slanted towards people that are doing IVF. So there was this like reminder, like a very heavy reminder, that you're doing this alone, you know, and that, you know, other people like are in this together kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Or they have somebody to help administer the shots. They have somebody to drive them to the appointments, someone to cry to.
Yeah, like it's this team effort, and it is this very like, yeah, it was like, it felt very lonely, and it felt very like, normally in my life, I don't care if I'm single, like I'm not worried about that, and I just feel like it was
You're
this
okay
constant
with being
thing,
solo.
like, oh.
You're solo in other aspects. Your runs are probably, you know, mostly by yourself, and it's your catch-up time with yourself.
Yeah. So it was like, it was definitely weird and lonely. In terms of the shots, to speak to that, I thought that they were all going to be like EpiPens. I thought it was going to be super easy. I was shocked. Like when I went in for the appointment, I was like so overwhelmed.
It is overwhelming, isn't it?
It's insane. And like, I don't want to like scare
we have to become doctors in order to like administer ourselves. It feels like we become a nurse. Yeah.
I was like, I did not go to medical school. I can't tell you the last time I like used a needle to sew a button. And now I'm going to have to stab myself. Like, it was like a mind F. I was so shocked. I literally, like, she's telling me, she's going through the steps, and the whole time I'm like,
not going to remember
you guys said this was going to be easy.
Yeah,
like,
not going to remember that. Like, not going to remember that.
Is it easy? Oh, it was so overwhelming. And it's funny because I'm like thinking, yeah, this is what you do for a profession.
Yeah, of course it's second nature for you. Of course.
Yeah. And I was just like, I don't think she understands how like dumb I am about this.
No.
Like,
how inexperienced. Like, you know? Inexperienced.
Yeah, inexperienced for sure. And so I was super overwhelmed and intimidated by it. And luckily, I have a friend that's a nurse practitioner. And I told her, like, I was kind of like telling her about it. And she said, do you want to come over? And like, do you want me to help you?
Yes.
And I think that, oh my gosh. So the first 2 nights, yes, that made all the difference. The first 2 nights, I'm pretty sure we only did it twice together. We did it together. I went over there because too, you know, you have to mix things and get certain measurements.
Yeah, and then,
It's a lot. So luckily she did it with me, and then I felt more confident to be able to do it myself for the rest of the time.
Oh, perfect. And you do kind of become a pro by the time the 14th day hits you. You're like, I got this. And then you're faster. Yeah. But I don't know about you, but like I've been through it a couple of times, and even going through it several times, I'm like, did I mix that trigger shot right? Because it's all a proportionate game of like how much solution, how much dilute, how much, and I'm like, huh? I don't do math. Like, forget it. CCs, is that
I'm
the
like,
same as like
yeah.
what? Totally.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm like, I don't do math, and if I follow a recipe, I'm not really following it.
Right.
Like I'm like, like a dash of this, some of that. And so I was like, I can't do that this time. Like this,
Right.
I just felt too like it was so much pressure.
Yeah. Well, and the timing, like there are certain times you have to take things and your life just has to revolve around that time schedule, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it
And
made me very nervous.
and sometimes like doses change depending on your blood levels from the morning monitor visit earlier that day. And so then you're like, well, wait a second. What's my number? What's today? What day am I on? I felt like that so much like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So how did you work on the payment side of things, or how much did it end up costing you? Did you have any insurance plans or company benefits?
No, so it wasn't covered really. I was able to cover, I think, some of the blood work that's just general blood work by my insurance, but that was really like a drop in the bucket compared to how much everything was. So I had been kind of, since I had been thinking about it, I had set some money aside thinking that potentially I would use it for this.
Yeah.
So I was really like, because it was something that was building up. I had that time, luckily, and that wasn't part of it because I know that there are so many options to finance. But luckily, because I had really been like dragging my feet, and I didn't let, I wasn't dragging my feet because of the financial aspect, but it worked out in that I had saved a lot of money kind of waiting for that
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you shocked by any one bill or anything that happened? Like, was there any unexpected costs that you didn't foresee, or was it all transparent pricing?
I feel like it was transparent pricing. I actually got really lucky and I was able to get some discounts on the prescription medications, so that was like a happy surprise because I know that they said it could be anywhere from like 3,000 to 7,000, right? So they tell you how much it is. And then they say like not including the prescriptions, right?
Yeah.
So all of the shots, hormones and stuff. And then that's like underneath in this like print that says anywhere, and it's like that's a huge
range,
like 3,000 to 7,000 on top of everything else. And so I mean, it's not like any part of this is cheap, but luckily because of the I want to call it financial aid, like I'm in college or something,
right? But it's whatever. Like a discount program if you have insurance but it didn't have benefits, or like based on your income, or there's a couple of the med programs. Like I know there's a new one out now called Reunite, and they have a whole discount program that like helps, not indigent because we're not we're not sleepers here, but it helps provide relief because the drugs are so overpriced high.
Yeah, they are. So
you're not paying the cash rate. You're not paying the highest rate for it.
Yeah. So I was happy that was at least like a little bit of a. Right. I mean, I was happy for anything at the point where you're just like, this is so expensive.
Did you seek out any discounts, or did you even like think to ask about any discounts for the meds?
They had actually told me when I went to the info session, or maybe when I went to the initial consultation, it was like in with all of this paperwork. And I remember the finance person that I sat down with said, like, look up these websites and fill it out. So that's what I did. So I went and looked into that because I remember they had mentioned it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, I'm glad that your clinic kind of told you that these discount programs existed, because I've talked to a lot of women where they didn't even know they could apply for any kind of discount. And if their income was under a certain level, they would have got the meds much cheaper. So that's so
Yeah.
unfortunate that there's such a question mark behind what this costs are. Like it feels weird. Like like it's like hotels and airline travel. Like one day you look at an air flight and it's $400. The next day you look at it, it's $700, and it's like, well, what was the jump? How can it
Yeah.
change prices so much?
I know. And it's just like it, and then that adds to the stress of it, as if
Totally.
it's not already such a heavy thing, is that it costs so much on top of the fact that you're like, when you are doing this, like, it's not easy, it's like, it's not easy. I feel like it's stressful, and
You're watching your
it's
bank account
like
drain.
emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're on all these meds, so you feel a heightened level of emotions, and
Yes.
then you're praying for good outcomes, because otherwise this is all for none.
Yeah. It's just like, it's so much money, and it's this messed up thing where, too, you feel like this pressure that you want to have a really good outcome because you are spending so much money on this, and it's time, and it's a medical procedure that you're electing to do, and you're just like, it just feels very stressful.
So have you always known you wanted to be a mom, or was it something just in the back of your mind that you want to protect your fertility? Do you have this like innate desire you want to be a mother, or you're not sure?
Um, well, I feel like I definitely do. I really thought, and this is, I think, part of like what has made it emotional, is that I was married, and I feel like I was married kind of young, and my husband was ready for kids when I wasn't. And that was like a huge point of contention in our marriage. And I just thought I had all the time in the world. And then it's like coming off of, getting a divorce and starting over, and then like realizing, like I was in this relationship with this person, and I thought, oh, like, it's going to be fine.
Care of.
Yeah. And so I never really thought like, holy crap, maybe not, And so I just assumed it wasn't something that I necessarily was like, I even thought was a decision. Like, I just figured I would have.
Right. It would just be part of the narrative, right? It would just be part of the that's what comes with marriage, right? Babies and kids. And the picket fence and the dog.
No, but it's so true. Like, I just figured like, that's going to happen. So in like realizing more recently, okay, well,
that's not
that didn't happen that way, like, you better figure it out. I wanted to make sure that I had some sort of like insurance in place, because I was kind of starting to think like, I don't know what's going to happen now. Like, I don't know how my story is going to play out.
Right. And none of us really do, if you really think about it. I mean, even when we have the most well thought out plans, anything could change. That person could change their mind. I mean, when you're counting on someone else to be your parenting partner, things don't always go as planned. Have you ever thought about being a mom by choice? Like maybe doing this on your own, or getting a sperm donor?
I definitely did. I actually, like, the week when I started the process, I had read something that kind of said that they have, because they've been doing it longer, that freezing embryos is more successful, because they have more stats behind it than freezing eggs. And suddenly I was like, should I freeze embryos? Like, should I go to a sperm bank? Like, I was, and it's like at this point, like, I'm already kind of starting. I think I was just in the first week, maybe like on birth control or something, but I'm suddenly like, wait a second, which is super overwhelming, and it adds this whole other aspect to it.
Totally.
And I decided not to do that because I really didn't have the time to like truly consider it. But that was the first time that I really was like, okay, I mean, would I just do this by myself? Like, I hadn't really given it real thought.
Yeah, and it's a lot to think about. I mean, fertility touches like the core of all of our value systems. And, I think that when you get to different ages, or what I've seen a lot in my friend group, is that when you hit a different age, you feel differently. So you might go through this evolution where in your 30s you didn't feel this way, and now in your 40s you do. And so how do you plan for all of those possibilities? That's really tough. And then you don't know, maybe you might meet the love of your life or your parenting partner later. And that's what I hear. If there's any regret, it's that people didn't do it when they were younger, because then later they meet someone that they really want to have a child with. And it's just not physically possible for you both to be the DNA parent due to time and your biological clock. So that is always hard too, because then you have to wrestle with, am I okay with someone else's DNA being my child, being part of my child, you know? So I think I'm in the same boat with you actually. So I froze a couple of times, and now I'm considering making embryos for another backup plan. So like a backup to the backup with donor sperm, and or a donor, or even if it's a known donor, like just somebody that I have an ironclad contract with, or a sperm donor at a sperm bank, and figuring out like, okay, now I have a couple of these embryos. So if I'm ready to say, let's hit the go button, I don't have to panic about the eggs not thawing and then turning into embryos, and, you know, how that would look like. I don't know. But then I also think I don't want to make too many embryos, because then if the real goal is to meet your parenting partner and you meet them and you want to use their DNA and sperm, well, now you have a bunch of embryos that aren't his and you can't unmake them.
Yeah.
So that's the tough part.
But you already have the eggs, so I feel like that's like a good plan. I feel like if I were to do it again, I would do that. Like, just so that I had both.
19 eggs is really good too. I don't know how big you want your family size to be, but that's a decent amount that you can feel pretty secure, especially when they're 34 eggs, or 34 years old. That's a good chance. It gives you, and what people don't think about is how this could be used for baby number 2 or baby number 3. Like, it doesn't have to be used for baby number 1. You could get pregnant naturally. Yeah. So, if you want to extend your family, or sometimes there's a thing called secondary infertility, and that's where like you had no problems getting pregnant the first time, but the second time was really hard, and it's a struggle, and sometimes it doesn't happen for years and years and years, and hence like, oops baby, so to speak, like your brother. Yeah. And so it's not that it can't happen, it's just it may not happen on the time scale or the timing that you want. Yeah. So, but also part of the reason that embryos are genetically more viable, they say, is because they can test the embryo on whether it's healthy or not. So if you're implanting a good embryo. So they have something called PGD and PGS, where it tests the genetics of the two DNAs together in the chromosomes. Whereas eggs, we don't know quality until we try to inseminate them, and even that has 50% is the other partner. So it could just be your DNA together. Let's hope not, but that like if it doesn't work or whatever. But yeah, there's just so many factors. I mean, it's science. So science is complicated, right?
Yeah, it's heavy stuff. It's really a lot to consider.
Well, I'm just so glad that you're out public and you're talking about this from a bigger standpoint, and I love that we're sharing our stories and that we can empower each other to be, to explore this as a real option and not to be afraid of it. And we don't have to be embarrassed that we're doing it alone, because actually I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like this adds to my resume. Like, I should be even more valuable on the dating apps. There should be like a special highlight, extra eggs. She's not really 36. She's really 33, age.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I, luckily, when I was first thinking about it, I was dating someone who's a doctor. And so I really appreciated that. I feel like I was able to talk to a guy about it who didn't see it as some like
baby
red flag
crazy
or something weird.
Yeah, like a baby crazy person. Like, oh, whoa, get back. She's going to try to get me pregnant.
Yes. And so that made me feel so much better, because we were able to have an adult conversation about it just based on the realities of biology and science,
right.
And so I am not going to engage in a conversation with an adult that is going to act like this is some sort of red flag or bad thing. You know, just
it's
like,
part of life.
This is, it's a part of life and there's nothing wrong with it. And exactly, like, I don't want to be ashamed of it. I think it's awesome. And it is empowering, really, because it's like, well, I don't have to deal with you.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna be weird about this,
like, we're over.
I don't have to deal with you.
Goodbye. I don't have to count on you. I could start over, and I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah. I mean, like, the good thing is that there's a part of it that I felt like a weight was lifted off once I finally had decided to do it, because it was kind of like looming over me. So, yeah.
Well, that does feel good for sure. Well, it's great. I love it. Well, this has been such a fun chat. Do you have any additional advice or thoughts that you want to share with the audience?
I would say, if you're considering it, go to a consultation, go check out a couple places. You're not locked into anything. And I think the more information you have, the better. It makes it that much easier to make a decision on whether or not you want to. And I do agree with what you were saying earlier, that you should make the choice without taking into consideration like your relationship status or, certain other things, because you really don't know like how things are going to play out. Like, I wish that I had a magic ball and I could be like, where am I going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, and make it that much easier. The reality is I don't. And so you just kind of get to be in charge, like take charge of your life. And I mean, I don't think it's necessarily right for everyone, but if you think it might be right for you, get information, like ask questions, ask us questions, like reach out. I'm open, because that's what I wanted, is I wanted to be able to talk to someone, not just a doctor, but someone that had done it. I thought that was like really important, and it made me feel a lot better about kind of moving forward.
Well, and I feel like this is a really tough age. Our early 30s, we have to rectify our family future long before men ever even debate it or think it or it pops in their brain. I don't know if you ever listened to the psychologist Jordan Peterson, but he talks about this all the time, that is why the earning power sometimes for women is on a sliding scale, because if they do devote time to becoming a mother and start a family, all the work's put on them. And so it's really hard when we have a society now where women are equal, thank God, finally on its way, with the Me Too movement and everything else, that we're not discounting our value in the workplace. But what does that mean for the family?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. And it's like, I remember hearing too them talk about it, like how we live our lives has changed, but our bodies haven't caught up,
right. Yeah.
So it's like, we are still the way society is, like, where, women do want to do all of these different things. And your time period though, for having a baby, like, is still kind of
window.
In this back in the day kind of situation. Like, we live for so long and we have so much, like, energy and life and goals and desires and stuff, and it's like, but to make babies, like, it's this window. And I feel like, if there's anything to kind of make the window bigger,
and I feel like we need to challenge men too more, that this is what we have to struggle with, because I feel like they don't have any of the burden, and they don't understand, and they do put us in a crazy category. Like, I've been called a crazy egg freezing lady because I talk about this all the time, and I'm like, you know what? Then we're not the right match, because the reason I'm talking about this is so you are educated, because you need to understand what we have to do in order to create this magical family that you want in your head. You can't just play Peter Pan all your life and then sign up for marriage at 45 and think, honkadory, you're gonna have 3 kids and a picket fence. Like, it just isn't possible. Now, we want it all, and we can have it all, thank God, to science like this. So why not use it, right?
Yeah. Yes. I love that.
Well, high five, sister. You're an awesome advocate, and I really appreciate your story and just being so open.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was really awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's not wait so long to catch up again.
Yes, I need to know what you decide about the next round too.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll keep in touch. All right. Bye for
Okay,
now.
thanks. Bye bye.